Friends, today we are discussing about the Unit 3. Up to now, we completed the Unit 1 and Unit 2. Now we are studying about the Unit 3. Then what is the title of the Unit 3? Production, Cost, Market Structures and Pricing. This is the title of the third unit, Session 1. Then what is the syllabus for the third unit as per the JNTH syllabus? The third unit syllabus is factors of production, production function with one variable input, two variable inputs, returns to scale, different types of production functions, cost analysis, types of costs, short run and long run cost functions, market structures, nature of competition, features of perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly and monopolistic competition. Monopoly, oligopoly and monopolistic competition, pricing, types of pricing, product life cycle based pricing, break even analysis and cost volume profit analysis. This is the syllabus and vast syllabus. In this particular syllabus, what we are going to discuss is production function, cost concepts, markets, pricing, break-even analysis and cost volume profit analysis. So for examination point of view, very important, and it covered the maximum 2 or 3 essay type questions and 2 or 3 short answer questions. So examination point of view, very important, and scoring is very easy in this particular unit. Then what is the learning outcomes of this particular session? The learning outcomes of this particular session is know the meaning and purpose of production and production function. Know the meaning and purpose of production and production function. Learn the difference between short run and long run production function. Learn the difference between the short run and long run production function. Next, third one, learn how average and marginal productivity of labor changes with a change in the labor. So what is the third outcome? Learn how average and marginal productivity of labor changes with a change in the labor. Next, fourth objective, analyze how output changes with the change in the labor with the help of short run production function. Analyze how output changes with the change in the labor with the help of short run production function. These are the learning outcomes of this particular session. Then we are going in detail in subject. First, we should know the meaning of definition of production function. Then the definition of production function, we are studying about the two definitions. What are that? First one is according to Stigler, what he defined the production function. Second one is according to Michael R. Bay, he defined production function. Then according to Stigler, what is the definition of production function? The production function is the name given to the relationship between the rates of productive services and the rates of output of the product. So what is the definition of production function? According to the Stigler, the production function is the name given to the relationship between the rates of productive services and the rates of output of the product. This is the definition. So in this definition, What we are getting conclusion? Rates of productivity services and rates of output of the product. So these are the two important relationships, rates of productive services and rates of output of the product. Then the second definition is according to Michael or Bay definition. What is the Michael or Bay definition? Production function is that function which defines the maximum amount of output that can be produced, maximum amount of output that can be produced with a given set of inputs. According to Michael or Bay, production function is that function which defines the maximum amount of output that can be produced with a given set of inputs. So what we concluded from these particular two definitions? The first definition is rates of productive services and second one is rates of output of the product. That explains the relationship between production function. Second definition is maximum amount of output that can be produced with a given set of inputs. This is the second definition of production function. Next, production function equation. What is the equation of the production function? The equation of the production function, it is written mathematically. Q is equal to F of L C O. What is the Q? Quantity of output. L means land, L means labor, C means capital, O means organization. So that means land, labor, capital, organization. In the demand function, what we are written? Dx equal to F of P, P naught, Y, T. P means price, P naught means price of other commodity, Y means income, T means taste and habits. So in the similar way, production function what we are writing? Land, labor, capital, organization. We are writing in the production function equation. Then what it indicates, this production function? Number of different inputs to production. That different inputs of production, we called it as factors of production. What are the factors of production? Land, labor, capital, organization. These are the different inputs to production. Second one is, technically, land is the third category of production. Next, depends upon the specific technology and production processes that a firm uses. So first one is the factors of production. Second one is the technically land is the third category. Third one is the specific technology and production process that firm is using. So these are the production function influencing. Then what are the factors of the production? Then what are the returns obtained? The factors of production is, first one is land, natural resource. Land is the natural resource. Labor is human skill and effort. Land, what we are paying? We are paying the some rent in the form of a rent. Labor, we are paying in the form of a either wage or in the form of salary, labor. Third one is capital, equipment and materials. Capital, when they are investment their capital, what they are expecting? The capital is expecting the interest about that particular investment or capital. Fourth one is enterprise. Enterprise B, or we can also call it as organization and undertaking production. What is the organization expecting? Organization is expecting profit. So what are the factors of the production? Land, labor, capital, enterprise. Land is a natural resource and we are paying the rent. Labor, we are paying the wage or rent. Labor, we are paying the wage or salary. Capital, we are paying some interest. Organization, we are getting some profit. The factors of production together produce goods and services. Together produce goods and services. That means what is the together? Land, labor, capital and enterprise or organization. Together produce goods and services. Then what are the uses of production function? The uses of production function is how to obtain maximum output. So we are giving the minimum input and getting the maximum output. And it helps the producers to determine whether employing variable inputs, costs are profitable. Determine whether employing variable inputs or costs are profitable. Then third one is highly useful in long run decisions. Highly useful in long run decisions. Then fourth one is least cost combination of inputs and to produce an output. Least cost combination of inputs and to produce an output. So what are the uses of production function? To obtain the maximum output, and it will be helpful to the producer to determining whether employing variable inputs or costs are profitable, and it will be useful in the long run decisions. And another one is least cost combination of inputs and to produce an output. This is the use of production function. Next, what are the types of production function? So we should know the types of production function. The types of production function we classified into two types. What are that? One is short run production function. Second one is long run production function. Short run production function is written to a factor. Long run production is written to a scale. Written to a factor and written to a scale. Written to a factor is short run production, whereas written to scale is long run production. And short run is one variable factor and other variables are fixed. One variable factor. What is that one variable? Labor. And the remaining all other variables are fixed. What are that? Land, capital and organization. All these are fixed. Then long run production function, all factors are variable. All factors are variable. Why? Because in the long run we are changing all the four types of variables. What are that? Land, labor, capital, organization. Then on the basis of the one variable factor, we are deriving the theory is law of variable. Whereas here law of return. So in the short run what we are deriving? Law of variable proportion, whereas in the long run we are deriving the law of returns to scale. So production function we classified into the two types, short run production function and long run production function. From the short run production function, what we are concluded? Law of variable proportions. Long run production is law of returns to scale. These are the types of production function. Then how it influences the production function? It influences the production function is through technology. So the technology will be influencing farm and industry economy. That production function influence the technology, and how it will influence the farm, industry and economy. So we should know the meaning of farm. Farm means an individual. Industry means group of firms. Group of firms, we called it as an industry. Economy means farm plus industry. Combined together, we called it as economy. Then the production function, algebraic equations or mathematical equations, it can be influenced. What is that? One is the Q is equal to F of L K. Quantity of goods produced depends upon the labor and capital. Labor and capital. So then we are drawing the graphs, lines and curves. Graph lines and curves. What are that? Example is isocost curve, isoquant curve, expansion path curve. Then we are writing the schedules and tables. What are the schedules and tables? The schedules is or tables is law of variable proportions. If one variable is changes, how it will be influenced the total product, marginal product and average product. So on the basis of these, we are deriving the some of the theories. What are the theories we are deriving? The first theory is in the short run production function. In the short run production function, what is the theory? Production function with one variable input. Production function with one variable input. So as per the syllabus, the short run production function with one variable input. In the short run, what the producers are doing? In the short run, producers have to optimize with only one variable input. With only one variable input. So let us consider a situation in which there are two inputs. What are the two inputs? Capital and labor. Why? Because the remaining two are the fixed. If capital is the fixed and labor is the variable input. If the capital is the fixed and the labor is the variable input, the amount of capital is kept constant and labor is increased to increase output. The amount of capital is kept constant and labor is increased to increase output. Then the third one is any change in output. Any change in output can be manifested only through change in the labor input only. So from this particular session, in this particular topic, what we are concluding, in the short run, producers have to optimize with only one variable input and consider the situation in which there are two inputs, capital and labor. Capital is the fixed and labor is the variable input. The amount of capital is kept constant and labor is increased to increase output. Any change in output can be manifested only through change in labor and capital, labor input only. This production function is also known as variable proportion production function. Variable proportion production function. Variable proportion production function means the short run production function shows the maximum output of a firm can produce when only one of its inputs can be varied other inputs remaining constant. The other inputs remaining constant. It can be written as Q is equal to F of L Kc. What is the meaning of Q? Meaning of Q is output. L means labor. Kc means fixed amount of capital. Fixed amount of capital. Then we should know the sum of the physical products. What are that physical products? Total product, average product and marginal product. Average product, marginal product and total product. So the short-run production function is governed by law of variable proportions. The short-run production is governed by law of variable proportions. Then concept of average, marginal products and total product of factor inputs. Assuming capital to be constant and labor to be variable. So capital is constant. Once they are invested, they kept the capital into the constant, only changes in the labor. Then how it will be influenced? The total product of labor function is given as total product of labor equal to F of Kc L. F of Kc L. What is the meaning of Kc and L? If instead labor is fixed in short run, capital is varied. Total product of capital equal to F capital labor capital. Then average product. Average product is total product per unit of variable input. Average product is total product per unit of variable input. Average product of labor equal to total product of labor. Average product of labor equal to total product by labor. So total product by labor means capital is the fixing. If average product capital equal to total product by capital. So here labor is fixed. In the first one capital is fixed. Please try to understand the differentiation. Average product, it is a total product per unit of variable input. What is the formula? Total product by labor. Capital is fixed. Total product by capital is labor fixed. Then we should know the marginal product. What is the meaning of marginal product? The meaning of marginal product is defined as addition in total output per unit change in variable input, thus marginal product of labor. Marginal product is defined as addition in total output per unit change in variable input. Change in variable input. Thus marginal product of labor. What is the formula for marginal product of labor? Equal to delta total product by delta labor. Marginal product of delta total product by delta total labor. That is the marginal product. So what we learned? We learned about the total product, average product and marginal product. These three physical quantities of products we learned: total product, average product and marginal product. For examination point of view, very important. Why? Because they asked several times out of these three definitions, any one they asked. Earlier they asked about the total product, average product and marginal product. Then assumptions of the law. On what basis this law is framed? On the basis of some of the assumptions. Why? Because in the microeconomics or in the business economics, theories are totally explained on the basis of the assumptions. Why? Because these all theories are developed by the classical economists. These all theories are developed by the classical economists. The classical economists, as explained by the law of variable proportions, on the basis of the some of the assumptions. What are that? These assumptions are very, very important, my dear students. Then what is the first assumption? The first assumption is only one factor is variable while others are held constant. Just now we discussed what are the one factor is variable? Labor. While others are held constant means what are that? Land, capital and organization or entrepreneur. These are the constant. So what is the first assumption? Only one factor is variable while the others are held constant. Second one is all units of the variable factor are homogeneous. All variable factors are homogeneous. Homogeneous means similar level of the skills. Similar level of the skills or similar properties of that particular variable factors. Then the third one is there is no change in technology. There is no change in technology. Technology is constant as per the assumption. But actually in the real life, the technology is gradually changing. But whereas the classicals, they framed this assumption in the 18th and 19th century, because at that time the role of technology is less. So that's why there is no change in technology. Then fourth point is it is possible to vary the proportions in which different inputs are combined. The vary proportions, different inputs are combined. Next, the products are measured in physical units. How the products are measured in physical units? What are that? In either in the quintals or in terms of the tons. The assumptions can be framed. So what are that? Only one factor is variable while others are held constant. All units of the variable factor are homogeneous. There is no change in technology. It is possible to vary the proportions in which different inputs are combined. The products are measured in physical units. What are that? In quintals or in tons. In quintals or in tons. Then we should go through the explanation through one example, the law of variable proportions. So what we are assuming that a manufacturer starts a production with an investment of rupees 10 crores in plant and machinery. How much money is invested? 10 crores with an investment. Where is invested? Is invested in plant and machinery. When the manufacturer increases the units of labor, keeping investment in plant fixed. His investment in plant is fixed. Only changes in the units of labor. That means first he initiated, recruited one labor, then gradually increased second labor, third labor. That means the units of the laborers are increases. The investment plant is fixed. Then what is the impact on the output? So with this example, what we are learning? We are learning if one variable changes, how it will be influence the other variables. That means how it will be influence the total product, average product and marginal product. Now the law of variable proportions, what it states? It states that with the increase in the quantity of variable factor, its marginal and average product will eventually decline. The marginal product, average product eventually decline. Other inputs remain unchanged. The other inputs remain unchanged. Then the law of variable proportions. Example is, so from this particular table we can easily conclude that. What is the conclusion? Labor, when the labor gradually increases. So what is the labor gradually? Labor initially 1, but it reaches up to 9. The labor initially 1 and it reaches to up to 9. That means gradually adding the one more labor every time. Then what is the impact on the total product, marginal product and average product? Then what is the conclusion? What are the stages arises from this particular table? So my dear students, please go through this particular table. It will be very, very useful to draw the diagrams, to understand the concepts, to understand the example with the suitable table. So initially the total product is 20, then it increases 50, 90, 120, 140, 150. Try to understood, my dear students. 6th and 7th, the labor output is not changed. So that means the labor output level is similar in the 6th labor and 7th labor. Then the total product is no difference. Then the marginal product is 0. Then when we are adding the 8th labor, the total product, instead of increasing, it is decreasing from 152 to 130. Then it reduces from 130. So from this particular table, what we are concluded that initially the total product is increases, but whereas in the 6th and 7th labor it is constant or similar, or it is marginal product is 0. The average product is 21.5. So then what is the conclusion from this particular table? The conclusion from this particular table is first 3 stages, first 3 labors, first labor, second labor, third labor. Please go through the table once again. What is the total product, average product, marginal product? Total product is 20, marginal product is 0, average product is 20. Though the marginal average product is gradually increases when the total product is increasing. That stage we called it as a increasing returns stage. That stage we called it as a increasing return stage. Whereas in the second stage, that means 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th labor, that means 4 labors, when we are adding the additionally, initially the output is increased, but marginal product, average product gradually decreases. So that's why this stage we called it as a diminishing returns. Third stage is there is a no change, or the output level is reducing from 132 to 120, 100. So that means instead of increasing or constant, it is decreasing. That means it goes to the negative returns. So my dear students, from this particular table, what we are concluded that initially the total product is increasing, then gradually decreasing, and finally it goes to the negative returns. So the law of variable proportions, we classified the stages into 3 types. What are that? Increasing returns, diminishing returns and negative returns. Then we are writing in the graphical representation. What is the red color indicates? Total product. Green color indicates marginal product, whereas yellow color indicates average product. Please try to understand. The marginal product goes to the negative, then it goes to the below x-axis. Then what is the graph interface? The graph interface, from this graph inference, what we concluded, with small increase in units of labor, capital being constant, extra units of labor manifest through an increase in output. After a certain point where there are too many workers with fixed capital, where there are too many workers are there, but the fixed capital, the output level will not be changed, or it goes to the negative. So the part of the workforce becomes ineffective. The part of the workforce become ineffective. That means whether they are participating in the production or not, the output level will not be changed. The marginal product of the labor starts falling. The marginal product of labor starts falling gradually. Then this law is based on the assumption. What is that? Each and unit of labor is homogeneous. Each unit of labor is homogeneous. Homogeneous means their skilled levels are similar. That means each worker has same skills. Each worker has same skills. From this particular graph, we can conclude that the stages from the above table, how many stages we divided? We divided into 3 stages. What are that? Total product, marginal product, average product. From this particular table graph, we are showing in the graphical representation. In the x-axis, what we are written? Labor. Y-axis, what we are written? Total output. Then total product is indicating the blue, marginal product is indicating the violet, average product is indicating the red. So the total product, initially the total product increases, gradually it is decreasing. There are the 3 stages of the production. What are that? Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Stage 1 is increasing returns, stage 2 is diminishing returns, stage 3 is negative returns. That we are showing in the graphical representation. Then from this from the above graph, how it will be influencing in the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, in the total product, marginal product, average product. In the stage 1, first it increases at increasing rate, then diminishing rate. Stage 2 continues to increase at diminishing rate and becomes maximum. Stage 3 diminishes. In the marginal product, it increases in the beginning, then reaches to the maximum and begins to decreasing, continues to diminishes or becomes to equal to 0. It becomes negative. Then average product first increases, continues to increase, and becomes maximum. It becomes equal to marginal product and then begins to diminish, continues to diminish, but it will always be greater than 0. Then what is the graph inference? The graph inference is in the panel A explains the behavior of total product, panel B explains the nature of average product and marginal product curves. Point A, inflection of total product. Point A on the marginal product curve, in panel B it corresponds to point A. So from this graph, what we concluded, total product is maximum after it falls. Total product after it falls. Then what are the stages in the graph? So each stage, what it indicates? Stage 1 indicates increasing returns to the variable factor. Stage 2 diminishing returns to the variable factor. Stage 3 is the negative returns. So out of the 3 stages, which stage is the suitable for the production? This is the first stage, in this additional units of labor are employed, the total output is increases, so marginal product is rises. From this table, what we are concluding? Marginal product is greater than 0 and marginal product is greater than the average product. Then stage 2, diminishing returns to the variable factor. It is the second stage. Total output increases but less than proportionate to increase in labor. The stage marginal product falls, and this is known as the law of diminishing returns to the variable factor. Both average product and marginal product are positive but declining. Then here marginal product is greater than 0 but average product is falling, marginal product less than average product, where total product is increasing in diminishing. So out of the stage 1, stage 2, which one is suitable? Stage 1. Why stage 2 is suitable? Because the average product and marginal product is marginal product is less than the average product, where total product increases at diminishing. Then stage 3. Stage 3 is the negative returns to variable factor. Stage 3 is the negative returns to variable factors. Stage 3 is the negative returns to variable factors. This is the third stage, which marginal product is less than 0 and total product is falling. Marginal product is less than 0 and total product is falling. Technically, this is inefficient stage of production. Technically, this is inefficient stage. Why? Because a rational firm never operate in this stage. Why? Because he is getting the losses. So that's why a rational firm operator never operate in this stage. And stage 1 is also not utilizing the resources effectively. So out of the 3 stages, stage 2 is the suitable for production. Then what is the conclusion of this particular theory? What is the conclusion of this particular theory? So what are the conclusions? There are totally 4 conclusions. What are that 4 conclusions? First conclusion is a rational producer will never produce in stage 3. Why? Because where marginal product is negative. Where marginal product is negative. So stage 3 is not suitable for the production. So always the rational producer is not choosing the third stage. Whereas in the rational producer will also not produce in stage 1, where marginal product of fixed factor is negative. In the stage 3 negative, and in the stage 1 the fixed factor is negative. Then what is the conclusion? Stage 1 is not suitable and stage 3 also not suitable for the production. Then which stage is suitable? Second stage is suitable. Why? Because always the rational producer in stage 2, where both marginal product and average product variable factors are diminishing. Marginal product, average product variables are diminishing. So the third one is the producer producing in stage 1 will not be making best use of fixed factor, and he will not be utilizing fully the opportunity of increasing production by increasing quantity of the variable factor. What is the variable factor? Labor. What is the fixed factor? Capital. So he is not utilizing the fixed capital properly and not increasing the quantity of the variable factor. So that's why stage 1 is not suitable for the producers. Stage 3 also not suitable for the producers. Then a rational producer will always choose the stage 2, where both marginal product and average product of variable factors are diminishing. Marginal product and variable factors are diminishing. This is the conclusion. So, this is the conclusion about this particular theory. Then, on the basis of the previous question papers, what are the questions asked from this particular session? The previous questions are, first question is define production function. Second question is define total product, average product and marginal product. So already we are written in the tabular form. Then I clearly explained what is the formula for total product, what is the formula for average product and marginal product. This clearly written in the slide, each and every slide with definition, formula and example. So my dear students, please go through the definitions: production function, total product, average product and marginal product. Then the third question is list of factors of production. What are the factors of production? Land, labor, capital, organization. Land, labor, capital and organization. These are the factors of production function. Whereas demand function is dx equal to f of p, p naught, y, t. P means price, price of other commodity, income and taste and habits. So my dear students, when you are go through this particular subject, you try to remember that you should know the differences between demand function, supply function and production function. You should know the demand, what are the variables influencing in the demand function, what are the variables influencing in the supply function, what are the variables influencing in the production function. So you should know the demand function, supply function and production function. Then each and every variable, what it indicates. Then what is the essay question from this particular session? The essay question, this particular question is, from examination point of view, very important. Several times they ask this question in the examination for 5 marks question. Explain law of variable proportions with suitable example and diagram. So what you should know? You should write down the first introduction, then assumptions, then table, then total product, average product, marginal product, then what are the stages and each stage what it indicates with graphical representation, then the graph inferences. Finally you should write down the conclusion. So my dear students, from this particular session what we learned is, what is the learning outcome from this particular session? The learning outcome of this particular session is, so what we learned the definition of production function, we learned the short run and long run production function, we learned the average and marginal productivity of labor changes when the change in the labor. How we learned? We learned through the law of variable proportion. Then we are analyzing the output. When we are adding continuously labor, the capital is fixed. What is the impact on the output? The impact on the output in the short run. So analyzing how output changes with change in the labor with the help of short run production function. This is the learning outcome of this particular session. So my dear students, please go through the each and every slide in a systematic manner. Then you are clearly understood the concepts, definitions, examples and graphical representations, tables with suitable examples and formulas and differentiations we are clearly mentioned in this particular session, each and every slide. Thank you, my dear students.